o'clock in broad daylight. There is a gang that is going around, and their children obviously had some sort of blade between their knuckles because they completely gashed his whole forehead open, and then they gashed him over here as well.
An Indian man was brutally assaulted in Ireland by a group of attackers in what's being suspected to be a racial attack. He was beaten, thrashed and left bloodied. A woman from Dublin rushed to the rescue of the Indian man and helped him. The man was falsely accused of acting inappropriately around children, and Irish authorities are probing the incident as a possible hate crime. Now, I spoke a short while earlier to the Irish woman who helped the Indian man. Listen into this conversation. You've seen her social media posts, and she's really been the one who's played a key role in the rescue of the Indian who was brutally attacked there. Jennifer Murray now joins us. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for speaking to Times Now. Let me begin by asking you, what did you see as you approached to rescue the Indian man there in Dublin? Take us through that moment.
Sure. So I was driving down the road and I saw, I suppose, what would be described as a commotion on the side of the road. There was a large gathering of people, approximately 30 teenagers, some adults, and some cars also. And as I slowed down while I was passing to see what was wrong, what was happening, I noticed the victim, who was covered in blood from head to toe. He had some wounds on his head, and then there was a lady shouting at the teenagers, and the scene was quite chaotic. So I pulled my car over. And I got out and I walked back and I said, "What's happened?" And the lady told me that he had been attacked. They were trying to keep the youths away from him at this point. And then I went to the gentleman to ask him if he was okay, and he asked me to help him. So I took him over to where my car was parked, and I sat him down on the roadside to help him call an ambulance, call the police, etc.
Right. But you also said that the teenagers who attacked the Indian man concocted a fake story about him acting inappropriately to justify their attack. What makes you so sure about this? Have there been other similar incidents that have been reported? Why do you believe so?
So when I arrived on the scene, the gentleman was extremely submissive. His head was bowed. He was telling me his name, that he was from India, and he was asking for help. There was no indication at any point that this man was aggressive, that he was a criminal, that he had done anything untoward. The public were shouting some things, but for me, there was no evidence of this. After I started to talk to him, when they attacked him, they cut his head open in 2 places. They beat him. But they also stole his trousers, they stole his underwear, they stole his shoes, they stole his phone, they stole his money. So the man was left with no choice but to be, partially naked in public, because they had taken his clothes. Not only had they stripped him and beaten him, they had physically removed his clothes with them when they left. So when I got there, the teenagers that were around him and the other adults that were around him were not the original attackers. So what had happened was he had been attacked, he had been robbed, he had then come out to look for help. But the attackers had spread a rumour on social media through word of mouth by taking a photograph of him and saying that he had no clothes on in an area with children. And lots of people believed this story and were shouting different variations of the story. No story was the same. Everything was different. Everything was in a different location, a different time. So nothing made sense. So there was no reason ever for me to believe this story. It's important for me that the point is that he was innocent. From the very, very beginning, he was innocent. The police have said he was innocent. There is no investigation into this man. He is a very, very, very unfortunate victim of a racist crime, and that the rumour that was spread, there was absolutely no warrant to it whatsoever.
Very, very significant that you are saying that you believe this is a racist crime. Did you witness or hear anything from the crowd that indicated that this was indeed a racist attack?
No, the crowd at that point were ill-informed. They had made a mob decision. They had made an assumption based on a photograph, based on a rumour, and they had ran with the rumour that had been spread that this man was doing something he shouldn't have been doing around children. So that was their belief system at the time. And you know, these images on social media and these rumors, I heard my friends, cousins, sisters said, you know, they're very, very dangerous, because in this incident, that man could have been helped a lot sooner than when I got there if these rumors were not believed. But at the time, this was the belief that this is why the attack had happened. And it was only afterwards, in conclusion, of this man was innocent. This man was walking in a nice area in Dublin alone, minding his own business, and these teenagers attacked him completely unprovoked for no reason other than, I can only assume, the colour of his skin, because there was plenty of other Irish people in the area. If they wanted to attack somebody, they could have attacked them. So the police have also said it is a racist crime and a hate crime.
Right. And what exactly did the victim tell you about how the attack began, who the assailants were? Did he narrate any of that to you?
Yeah, he told me that he was just walking to temple. There's a temple nearby where he was walking. And these teenagers they came and attacked him. He didn't see them coming. He didn't speak to them. They didn't shout at him. They just attacked him out of nowhere. He was very dazed very quickly because of the laceration on his head was the first injury. So that immediately made him very confused. He fell to the ground. And of course, like any person who was going about their daily business, he could not understand.
Right. So he didn't know any of these attackers? This was all a completely random attack on the street that took place? Yeah. He didn't know anybody. He was confident that they were teenagers. They didn't say anything. He told me when they were attacking him. But yeah, so it was just completely unexpected. Right. And how did the victim respond emotionally and physically when you helped him, especially after such a traumatic experience? What did he have to say?
So I think that's one of the most admirable things that I realized about this man as I sat with him and I helped him. He was so incredibly polite. He was so incredibly brave. He was clearly traumatized. He was clearly frightened and scared. He trusted me. He was very kind to me. He was the most gentleman I have ever met, and he is a testimony to the Indian people as to how he behaved. He maintained all of his dignity. He never shouted, he never screamed, he was never angry, and I think that's amazing. I think that he showed such strength and such character to be able to remain so dignified in a situation where he was clearly so frightened. And yeah, he was just a lovely, lovely man.
Right. And have you been in touch with the victim or his family members since this attack? Would you also know what his current condition is?
Yeah, so I've spoken to him, I texted him. He's obviously recovering. Physically, he's still quite injured. He travels back and forth to the hospital for attention most days. Mentally, he's traumatized, which I think every single person in the world had something like this happen to him would be. I tell him every day how many people from the Irish community and the Indian community, but importantly for him, the Irish community are here to support him, that we do not, as Irish people, support racism. We say no to violence. We do not want this happening on our streets to anybody, to immigrants, to Irish people, to men, to women. We do not want this. This is not the answer to anything. And I truly want him to know, and I make sure to tell him every day that, you know, he is important. This should not have happened to him, but I will do everything I can to make sure it never happens to anybody ever again.
Absolutely. Very brave words there. Jennifer, you know, talking to you, I have to ask you this. Has this experience affected you personally?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I think you would have to be a robot to not be affected. You know, it was at the time, I think, my priority was to take care of him, to make sure that he was okay. And then when that's been over, I've been obviously doing a lot of interviews and stuff, and it's not something I think that I will ever move past. I think it will stay with me. I hope that the difficulty of the situation for both me and him is the drive that I have to continue to promote peace and to promote no to racism. It's affected a lot of people. A lot of people saw it, the people in the neighbourhood. And so, these crimes and this violence, nothing good comes, nothing good.
Right. And, in this area or in other parts of Ireland, have similar incidents been reported in the past? Have you heard of anything like this in the recent past?
I had never heard of anything like this until I personally experienced it. That's not to say it doesn't happen. I think this particular attack, which is so sad, is kind of more extreme than normal attacks that have happened in the past. Lots of Indian people have come to me and said they love Ireland, they love the Irish people. And then some Indian people have come to me and they haven't had good experiences, not to the level of this attack, but, that they have faced racism. And I think it's important to say that, racism is alive, but it doesn't mean that it's in charge. You can be Irish, you can love your country, you can be patriotic, and you can still say no to racism and no to violence. And Céad Míle Fáilte is what you will see when you land in our airports, which means 100,000 welcomes. And the majority of the Irish people, that is what we want the world to know, that you are welcome here as contributing parts of our society that add to our society, that without you here, there would be massive failure in our hospitals, in our tech departments, in our communities. So this isn't a representation of Ireland or the people in it. And anything that is on the rise, I think now is our opportunity to stamp it out and get rid of this violence.
Absolutely. And would you like to take this message across to communities in Dublin, in other parts of Ireland as well, regarding racism after this incident?
Yeah, for sure. So I'll find a platform. I'll find a way to move forward with it. I think I've obviously been given this role for a reason. I believe the universe placed me there to help him and then hopefully to help others going forward. But I think, for anybody in the Indian community who lives in Ireland, and maybe even for anybody in Ireland who's available to see this, I think this is a great opportunity to let your neighbours know that you're happy with them, you love them, it's a safe place for them, and they're very welcome here if we can all as individuals reach out to each other. And, this particular crime is being focused on, but there's lots of violence in the world, and I don't personally believe that it's ever the answer. And, my whole message is about peace and no to hatred.
Right. And there are Indian, skilled workers, tech, specialists such as him who work across the world, across different countries because of the specialization, because of the technical know-how that they bring to the table. What would you like to say to, those who work in such sectors who may be perhaps looking at coming to Ireland at some point of time? Because this is an incident that certainly would have sent a lot of scare, a lot of fears, or put a lot of fears in their minds at least.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a shame because we need you. So we want you to come. We want you to feel welcome here. You are valid contributing parts of society. And I hope that there is far more positive experiences in Ireland for you to hear than negative. And I hope going forward that there will be far more positive. I think this incident is extremely, extremely tragic. It's not a daily occurrence. It's not happening everywhere. I think the narrative behind it is increasing. Negativity is becoming louder. I can't deny that. But I do feel like this is going to be the start of change, for positivity being just as loud and for pushing down, any negative. People who feel the need to shout very loud, I hope this quietens them down.
Well, Jennifer, I can only say you've been not just a good Samaritan, but perhaps an angel, and played an important role in saving this young man's life. We'd like to thank you so much for taking that up and speaking out so openly, and hopefully you get to see India one day as well.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you so much for covering the story. And, you know, I also just want to say to his family in India that, you know, we love him here. We are taking care of him. We are doing everything in our power to make sure that he is comfortable. I know it must be very, very difficult to be away, but we're going to mind him as best as we can.
Thank you so much, Jennifer, for speaking to us. That's Jennifer Murray, who played that very important role in perhaps saving the life of that young man and sending out a very strong message against racism, not just in Ireland, but in anywhere across the world. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for speaking to us.
Thank you.